If you're a coach who's ever wondered whether you should put your prices on your website, this video is for you. I'm about to share exactly what I've learned through scaling a multi-six-figure coaching business and helping thousands of coaches around the world, so you can feel confident that this advice will work for you. But before we dive in, if you're looking for a roadmap you can follow to help you sign more coaching clients more consistently, I definitely recommend downloading our free client attraction guide that walks through my best advice to help you make this happen. And you can get it completely free by clicking the link above or in the description down below. Now, when it comes to whether or not you should put your prices on your website as a coach, the answer is it depends. Really depends on where you're at, what stage you're at in your business right now. So I'm gonna separate this video into two sections. The first section would be if you're making under $10,000 a month, and the second section would be if you're above that 10K a month mark. So we'll talk first about the under 10K a month mark. I think probably most of the coaches who are watching this video are in that stage. And my advice is if you're making under 10K a month, you shouldn't put your prices on your website. When you do this, a couple things are gonna happen. Number one, you're gonna take more sales calls with people who are less qualified. You get to the end of the call and they hear the price and they're like, that's too expensive for me. And that kind of sucks. You know, it's a waste of time. You know, sometimes you get on calls where it's like, you know, if someone just knew the price up front, they could say, oh, that's too much. And I probably don't want to do that. And you'd save that time. But on the flip side, there are some people that if they just saw your prices on your website, you know, completely out of context, they didn't have that sales call with you where you help connect them to all the things they need to feel connected to really fully contextualize what your offer can do for them. In that moment, when they just see the prices on your website, they might be like, oh, this is too expensive. But if you were to actually get on a sales call with them and walk them through that whole sales conversation, then they might get to the end of the call and feel like, wow, this is a stretch for me, but I feel so connected to the fact that this offer is really gonna make an awesome impact on my life that I wanna do this. When you are in the early days of your business, lead flow is not like super abundant. It's usually best to just get on calls with as many people as possible. You know, you're gonna have a lower close rate. You're gonna take conversations with more people who just aren't a good fit, but you're also gonna maximize the amount of income coming into your business because you're gonna get those people that maybe are kind of on that fence point where if they just saw your prices on your website, maybe they would, you know, be like, oh, that's too expensive. I'm not gonna reach out. But if you just get on a call with them, they might end up closing. As an example, when I was a director of sales, we had a coaching business. We were running, you know, hundreds of calls every single month, and people would fill out an application to work with us before we would get on a call with them. One of the questions we asked on the application was, how much are you willing to invest into growing your music business? Was, you know, what we were selling, kind of like an offer for musicians to help them make money. The most common response that we get was like under $500. And we were selling a $4,800 program. Many of those same people that would say under $500 on the application would end up signing up for our $4,800 coaching program after that sales call. So this is just proof that like oftentimes like in the context that someone's in before they get on that sales call, the relationship that they have to how much they're willing to invest will actually be a lot lower than after that sales call. Another reason, if you're doing under 10K a month, I really recommend just getting on calls with as many people as possible and not having prices on your website, is because every call you do is like market research. You're taking the time to understand your people more. I think it's really important to have a lot of those calls in the early days and to start to understand the objections that people have and how people are thinking about what's going on for them and what their challenges are and their desires. And so taking more calls earlier on is great because it gives you information that you can use to go back into your marketing and make things more effective and start dialing in your messaging. And so I'm not as concerned in the earlier stages of a coaching business about increasing your close rate to the point where you can just get on calls with people who are like ready to go. That moves us on to the second part of this video, which is what if you're scaling your coaching business, you're making maybe above that 10K a month mark. This is when it starts to make sense to put pricing on your website or in your application and start to filter out the number of people that you're talking to so you have fewer conversations, but your close rate is actually higher. When we were making 10K, 15K, maybe 20K a month, somewhere around there, that was when we started putting pricing on our application. And now I don't talk to someone unless they know how much our pricing is. It's very transparent. And as a result, I don't have a lot of the conversations that I had in the early days when I was first getting started, where I would have, you know, a great sales call with someone and we'd spend 45 minutes talking about their problems and their desires. And they'd be like, oh my God, I really want to work with you. And then I'd share the investment. And they'd be like, oh, you know, I've got $200 in my bank account. I can't do that. Like, I don't have those conversations anymore. So my close rate is much higher. The reason why I made this shift and the reason why I recommend, people make this shift when they're scaling is because when lead flow is more abundant, when you have more leads coming into your business, the priority shifts. It's not so much about like, how do I just like get on a call with everyone and just like close as many people as possible? It's my time becomes like the most valuable thing. And so how do I make the most with the time that I have? And in that case, I'm willing to actually sacrifice a little bit of revenue because an hour of my time at this stage in my business is worth a lot. And I can take that time and I can invest that time into building my marketing and doing other things in my business that are more valuable than having an hour-long conversation with someone who doesn't close. So I'm willing to sacrifice a little bit of upfront revenue in order to make sure that I'm getting on calls with people who are more qualified. So my general ethos and my general advice for people is, as your lead flow grows, as you have more leads coming into your business, you can qualify a lot more on the front end through your application, through your messaging. So you start getting more and more specific about who you're looking for and you don't get on as many calls. Now, this advice might change if you have like a sales team that you're working with. Maybe you don't want to do all the selling. And in that case, if you've got a team of one, two, three people you've got who can just take calls all day, then, maybe you don't have to qualify on the application financially. You can just get on calls with people all day, and have your team get on calls with people and maybe have, 20, 30% close rate, and that's fine because you've got manpower on your team to be able to do that. So that advice changes if you've got a sales team and if you're selling in the DMs and doing things like that, this might change as well. But for most people who are running sales calls and getting on the phone with people, this is the advice that I recommend. So in short, to make it super simple, because I've shared a lot of context here, if you're making under 10K a month in your coaching business, I recommend not putting prices on your website. And if you're making over 10K a month, I recommend putting prices on your website and starting to qualify more heavily. I want to make sure you have these keys in place so you can start attracting more clients more consistently, growing your coaching business. And if you're looking for guidance on how to do that, I put together a free client attraction guide that walks through my best advice to help you make this happen. It's completely free. All you got to do to get it is click the link above or in the description down below to go download that right now. And if you enjoyed this video, you're definitely going to love that one too. So click the link on the screen to go check that out, and I'll see you in the next video.